So here we go. Yes, Blizzard just did their campfire chat for patch 1.11. They called it more of a dev update live stream or campfire new game plus, and there's reason for that. Big changes to the Sorcerer, Barbarians. We're talking about changes to uniques, new legendary aspects. Now patch 1.11 will be releasing on August 9th. Full patch notes will be happening on August 2nd, but today we're talking about the Necromancer, who's finally getting some love in the movement speed department and a new resource mechanic for all Necro builds, plus new changes to the Rogue and Druid that you're going to like quite a bit, monster mob density buff, which is fantastic for the end game, and Season 1 updates as well. So let's get into it right now. A special thank you to icveins.com for the breakdown. Here's just some of the highlights right here. It says, for the Sorcerer, they're looking into reducing the Kiss Curse mechanics, as they call it, and increasing their survivability. So you have these Kiss Curse mechanics where, of course, you give something really cool to the Sorcerer, but you also take away something or minimize something. They want to really reduce that more and more. Now, for the Barbarians, it says they are focusing on improving the early game. They will also increase Fury regen from basic skills. They're also going to make uniques more attractive. And here's an example of how Hellhammer will be updated in 1.11. They're changing the damage to crowd-controlled enemies to critical strike damage right here. We'll get into more of what they're doing exactly with the uniques and, of course, legendary aspects. But you can see the changes from the left side, the old version, to the right side here, which is going to be the new version. I noticed the chat was somewhat underwhelmed by these changes, but when we get further into what's happening with the Barbarian, I did see a lot of W's. So it seems like a lot of you guys were kind of happy about what's happening with the buffs. Let's get into it. So yeah, also it goes on to say this one right here. If we scroll down, it says updating the Barbarian Sorcerer uniques will be a priority in patch 1.11. Now, for example, Greater Chain Lightning will deal bonus damage while bouncing off anything instead of just you. Vulnerable and Crit are also very strong now. The long-term priority, however, is to bring other damage sources closer together. They want the various damage types to have parity in future patches. They also want to add scaling to builds that do not scale well. For example, legendary powers that spawn various things are affected by that. These work well in the early game, but are weak in the late game. They're aware of this. Now, patch notes for 1.11 are also coming next Wednesday on August 2nd. So we should be seeing that patch, of course, a week after or something like that, because they did say they want the patch notes out before the patch, about a week ahead of time, to gauge feedback and to make perhaps last minute adjustments as well. Now, we've got to get into the actual class changes here. First and foremost, we're going to start out with the Sorcerer, which a lot of you guys feel like it's underwhelming playing as a Sorcerer right now. So let's get into exactly what they are changing right now, shall we? So let's do this. Here we go. For the skills, it says Flickering Firebolt. They're changing to Firebolt generates 2 mana when hitting an enemy. Now, Fireball, it says Enhanced Fireball changed to Casting Fireball increases its radius by 50%. Now, for Destructive Fireball, they're going to change this one to Fireball's critical strike damage is increased by 20%. This bonus is increased to 30% if the Fireball hits 3 or more enemies. For Chain Lightning, let's talk about Greater Chain Lightning. They're going to be changing this to each time Chain Lightning bounces, of course, its next hit deals 5% increased damage. Now for Destructive Chain Lightning, the chance to form Crackling Energy increased from 25 to 30%. That's actually a really good one right there. Now furthermore, we have the Sorcerer's passives. Now we got to talk about Vali's Mastery. It says this, damage bonus increased from 10 to 15%. Esu's Ferocity says additional functionality. Both bonuses are also granted for 3 seconds when hitting a boss with a critical strike. What about Combustion? So they're going to be changing that to your burning effect deals X 20% increased damage plus an additional times 2% increased damage per unique source of burning you have applied to the enemy. Furthermore, we have the Paragon board. This is where we talk about the Sorcerer survivability. This should be interesting for you guys. It says this, for Searing Heat Legendary Node, they're going to be changing that one to Casting Fireball or Meteor increases your critical strike chance by 5% for 5 seconds, up to 15%. That's actually a pretty good one. Now, Ceaseless Conduit Legendary Node says this, they're going to be increasing Crackling Energy's damage from 2% to 3% per 20 intelligence the player has. And then for Reinforced Rare Glyph, it says damage reduction increase from 10 to 15%. Territorial Rare Glyph is going to be seeing damage reduction increase from 10 to 15%. Warding Rare Glyph says damage reduction increase from 13 to 25%. And then Keeper of the Flames Rare Node says damage reduction increase from 4 to 5%. And bonus damage reduction increase from 4 to 5%. So that's actually pretty significant when it comes to the Sorcerer survivability. So yeah, overall, definitely heading in the right direction for the Sorcerer for sure. Now, if we keep going, we have more going on with the Paragon board and the Sorcerer. It says Smoldering Embers Rare Node is being updated. It says damage reduction from burning enemies increased from 4 to 5%. Bonus damage reduction from burning enemies increased from 4 to 5%. And then we have Guarded Rare Node, where it says damage reduction from vulnerable enemies increased from 4 to 5%. Bonus damage reduction from vulnerable enemies also increased from 4 to 5% as well. Now, Oppressive Rare Node says this damage reduction from vulnerable enemies increased from 4 to 5%. And Lightning Resilience Rare Node and Restorative Rare Node have also seen some buffs to the maximum life bonus right there, as you can see, by about a 2% increase. So that's pretty good. And, you know, they did make some comments about the percentage increases. They say it may seem like it's not a lot here, but trust me, they've tested it out so far, and they are very happy with the results. Let's see if that is the same case for the community, though. Now, furthermore, we have legendaries are changing for the Sorcerer. So check it out. It says Serpentine Aspect changed to you may have one additional Hydra active, and Hydra's duration is increased by 14 to 24%. This now also affects Hydra's enchantment effect. Now, the aspect of configuration also is seeing some changes, with bonus burning damage increased from 20 to 30% to 20 to 40%. A nice buff there. Aspect of engulfing flames says bonus burning damage increased from 30 to 40% to 60 to 80%. Now, what about the aspect of 3 curses? They're going to be changing that up to increase the critical strike damage of Meteor and Fireball by 20 to 40%. Double this bonus against healthy enemies. Noise. Also, we have Flame Walker's aspect. Bonus movement speed duration increased from 4 to 6 seconds. And Gravitational aspect says this change to ball lightning orbits around you and deals 15 to 25% damage increase. Are you Sorcerers happy out there with the changes so far? Let me know. Now, let me scroll up here. It says, for the legendaries, let's continue onward. We also have a new legendary aspect in here. Now, let's get into it. So, for Recharging Aspect, it says, change to each time Chain Lightning bounces, you gain 2 to 3 mana. Aspect of Unbroken Tether says bonus Chain Lightning bounces increase from 2 to 4. And the Charge Aspect is seeing some change. It says bonus movement speed, duration increased from 4 to 8 seconds. And Aspect of Bounding Conduit says bonus movement speed increased from 20 to 25% to 25% to 30%. New legendary Mage Lord's Aspect. The Vire's Mastery Key passive's damage reduction is increased by 20 to 30% for each close enemy, up to 60 to 90%. How do you guys like it? Also, we have Aspect of Frozen Orbit. Damage increased from 20 to 30% to 30 to 40%. So these are pretty good buffs from what I am seeing. So yeah, I think Sorcerers will be pretty pleased with patch 111. Now we have more legendaries seeing some changes. So Storm Swell Aspect, bonus damage increased from 11 to 20% to 21 to 30%. Snowveld Aspect, unstoppable duration increased from 2 to 3 seconds to 3 to 5 seconds. Additional functionality though, also grants 10% bonus armor for 3 to 5 seconds. Incendiary Aspect, it's going to be changed up with the lucky hit damage from your pyromancy skills has up to a 12 to 17% chance to restore 10 mana. Now, Snowguard's Aspect, what's going on there? It says change to while within your own blizzard, and for 2 seconds after leaving it, you take 20 to 25% less damage. What about the aspect of concentration? Mana regeneration increased from 20 to 30% to 40 to 50%. Duration requirement to gain its benefit reduced from 3 to 2 seconds, which I'm sure a lot of you are going to be happy about that one. Now, we also have some uniques, so let's talk about that. For the Gloves of Illuminator, damage penalty reduced from 65 to 55% to 45 to 35%. Damage to stunned effects replaced with lucky hit, changed to restore resource reduce the distance offset per bounce range from 3 to 2.5. This should make it easier to hit close enemies with Fireball. Nice. So yeah, I think I'm definitely going to be hopping on Diablo 4 after patch 1.1.1 and trying out the Sorcerer, but also we've got to talk about one of my personal favorites, the Barbarian. So let's see what's going on there. Let's get into it. It says Barbarian changes in patch 1.1.1. So let's get into the skills. For Bash, Fury gained increased from 11 to 13. Blaze also seeing a Fury gained increase from 10 to 13. Frenzy enhanced. Frenzy says Fury gained increase from 2 to 3. And then we got a Fury gain increase from 10 to 12 for Lunging Strike. Doubling Swing says damage increase from 40% to 50%. Rupture says enhanced Rupture damage increase from 45% to 70%. Now that's actually really good one. I always felt Rupture was underwhelming. Now for Charge, it says enhanced Charge damage increase from 30 to 60%. And then Mighty Charge says vulnerable duration increase from 2 to 4 seconds. So some actually really nice buffs there. Now for the skills, let's talk about Upheaval. Violent Upheaval says this, change to if Upheaval damages at least 2 enemies or a boss, you gain Berserking for 2 seconds, increased to 3 seconds if it damages at least 4 enemies. I was hoping to hear about more of a damage modification for Upheaval. Feel like it's still somewhat weak. We'll see what happens. Now for passive, Aggressive Resistance says damage reduction increased from 3 to 4%. Gushing Wounds says bleed damage dealt based on critical damage bonus increase from 100% to 115%. Bleed damage when overpowering increased from 11% to 70%. That's pretty good. Unconstrained says berserking damage bonus increased from 25% to 35%. Updated the tooltip to more clearly reflect this key passive's value. Walking Arsenal says this bonus damage duration increased from 6 to 8 seconds. So yeah, overall some really good stuff happening with Barbarian. A good reason to try him if you have been really holding out after patch 1.1.1. Legendaries, let's talk about it. So for the Barbarian, they're changing the aspect of Ancestral Force. Damage increased from 32% to 50% to 40 to 58%. Death Wish aspect says Thorns increased from 0.5 to 0.75 to 0.65 to 0.85. And then we also have aspect of Unrelenting Fury. Core skill cost refund increased from 10 to 20% to 20 to 30%. Also, an additional functionality here, cost refund also granted when hitting bosses. Aspect of Ancestral Charge says this damage increase from 50 to 100% to 75 to 125%. Aspect of Burning Rage is also seeing a damage increase as well. Aspect of Full Kathos is seeing a damage reduction, while an Earthquake increased from 5 to 15% to 15 to 25%. Earthquake aspect says damage bonus in Earthquake increased from 5 to 15% to 15 to 25%. One of my favorite parts about the Barbarian is the Earthquake. So that makes me very happy to see those damage increases. Let's talk about the Barbarian's unique. So Fields of Crimson, damage increased from 0.18 to 0.34 to 0.22 to 0.38. So pretty good buff there. Damage that enemies take standing in pools increased from 15% to 20%. Rupture cooldown reduction effects replaced with bonus critical strike damage. Now, Hellhammer was the example I gave previously earlier in the video. Let's go over it again just in case you missed it. Damage increased from 0.6 to 0.8 to 0.85 to 1.1. That's actually pretty good right there. Burning duration increased from 3 to 4 seconds. Make it 10 seconds. No, I'm just kidding. Now it says damage to crowd-controlled enemies effects replaced with bonus critical strike damage. This is one of my favorite aspects that I discovered when it comes to Ancestrals. It just feels very underwhelming, I should say, right now. So to see that they're actually touching base with this unique is pretty cool. So I really, really hope that this has some sort of impact. And then we have Magnus Opus, which says physical damage effects replaced with vulnerable damage. Nice. 100,000 steps is seeing attacks reduce, evades cooldown effects replaced with bonus evade charges. Damage against stun effects replaced with bonus movement speed. And then Battle Trance is also seeing some changes. It says basic skill damage effects has been replaced with cooldown reduction. And then bonus attack speed to other skills increased from 10 to 20% to 35 to 45%. So yeah, some percentage changes there. Again, I think they're going to have to introduce uniques that really have this visual flair to them. That's just my opinion. But let's keep going. Let's talk a little bit more about the Rogue, because the Rogue is also seeing some changes now. Of course, patch 1.1.1 is more centered around the Sorcerer and Barbarian. They're very clear about that. But we've got to talk about what's happening with the other classes as well. Let's start out with the Rogue. So let's get into it. So with the skills, goes on to say this: Invigorating Strike. Fundamental Invigorating Strike is seeing energy threshold increase from 50 to 75%. Forceful Arrow, primary Forceful Arrow, is going to be changed to every third cast pierces enemies. And then the Caltrops, more specifically Enhanced Caltrops, has a damage bonus increase from 3 to 5%. And then Poison Trap damage per tick increase from 0.0956 to 0.12. And then Rain of Arrows, a Supreme Rain of Arrows, has been changed to Rain of Arrows. First wave knocks down enemies for 3 seconds. That's actually going to be a nice one right there. But yeah, we got to also talk about what is happening with the Rogue's passives. So Victimize is changing up. It says lucky hit chance increased from 35 to 45%. For Rugged, it says damage reduction against damage over time effects increased from 6, 12, and 18% to 9, 18, and 27% respectively. That's actually pretty significant. Siphoning Strike says lucky hit chance increased from 75% to 85%. What about legendaries? So Aspect of Elusive Menace says this no longer requires hits to be from close enemies. That's pretty good. Aspect of Quickening Fog says change to you automatically drop a smoke grenade at the end of dash. Smoke grenades reduce dash's cooldown by 0.4 to 0.6 seconds per target hit, up to 2 to 3 seconds. So that's actually some really noteworthy changes going on there with the legendaries. But yeah, we got to dive into what's happening with the Rogue's unique. So check it out. We've got some changes to Wind Force and Word of Hacking. For Wind Force, it says all stats effects replaced with vulnerable damage. And then Word of Hawken says ultimate damage effects replaced with cooldown reduction. So yeah, you can see how some of the aspects and some of these uniques are being kind of buffed by using vulnerability, which is kind of interesting. We'll see how that changes up in the future, because I feel like this might be more band-aid type stuff, but I think it's also a pretty good change to buff this stuff as well. Now we got to talk about the Druid, because I know a lot of you guys are curious about this, so let's get into it. Now it says this: the Druid Spirit Regeneration is being increased along with passive damage. So that's the overlook there. Now for skills, it says Earth Spike, Spirit gained increase from 11 to 13. And then we're seeing Spirit gain increases for Claw, Storm Strike, Wind Shear, Maul. But what about Wolves? So passive damage increased from 7.8 to 11% for Wolves. And then active damage also increased from 110% to 135%. Now, Enhanced Wolf Pack says damage bonus increased from 20 to 25%. And then the Brutal Wolf Pack says attack speed bonus increased from 20 to 25%. And then Ferocious Wolfpack is also seeing Fortify amount increase from 5 to 8%. So some really good stuff there. Druid Skills says Ravens passive damage increased from 13 to 20%. And Brutal Raven says additional functionality increased the passive damage of Ravens by 40%. Rabies says damage over time increased from 76% to 110%. So some really nice buffs here. Legendaries, we have some changes up for the aspects. Now it says Aspect of Metamorphic Stone. The spirit cost reduced from 60 to 50. Damage dealt increased from 80 to 100% to 100 to 120%. Aspect of the Alpha says damage increased from 75 to 100% to 90 to 115%. And Mangled Aspect, resource gain increased from 1 to 3. And then for the class mechanic Overload, it says lucky hit chance increased from 20 to 40%. So again, some noteworthy stuff going on there. Not as extensive, of course, as what we saw with the Sorcerer or Barbarian, but definitely, once again, headed in that right direction. But yeah, we have got to talk about my recent favorite, the Necromancer. So yeah, let's see what's happening with the Necromancer. Check it out here. Necromancer changes. Now you have a new resource mechanic for all Necromancer builds. Ooh. So we have skills, Paragon, and legendaries. Let's go over it. Bone Spirit. Enhanced Bone Spirit cooldown reduction increased from 6 to 7 seconds. For the Paragon, we have Witcher Legendary Board. Willpower requirement for bonuses reduced from 50 to 40. Bonus damage per 40 willpower increased from 2.5% to 4%. Now, for the legendaries, it says this right here. Aspect of Empowering Reaper changed to damaging enemies with Sever has a 10 to 20% chance to spawn a pool of blight under the target that deals 20 to 60% bonus damage. Now, this effect can only happen every 3 seconds. Now, Aspect of Exposed Flesh says change to lucky hit up to 10% chance to generate 30 to 50 essence when hitting a vulnerable enemy. Now we have legendary says this. Aspect of Decay damage decrease from 20 to 40% to 25 to 45%. Aspect of Torment says change to essence regeneration increase from 20 to 30% to 90 to 170%. That's pretty wild. That's a huge increase. Hulking Aspect says legendary category change from resource to utility. Chance for Golem to reduce its cooldown increase from 1 to 4% to 2 to 5%. And chance to Golem to spawn a corpse increase from half to 2% to 1 to 2.5%. For the uniques, we're seeing Greaves of Empty Tomb intelligence effects replaced with bonus movement speed. So yeah, that's actually fantastic news to hear, and I think it's going to make Necromancer a lot more enjoyable in Season 1. But also there were some changes here to minions for both the Necromancer and the Druid, so let's take a look at that, shall we? So, yes, for monsters and minions, it says, the following attacks now deal reduced damage to Druid companions and Necromancer minions. Check it out. For the Balrog, it says Fire Breath, and the elite fixes also say Fire Enchanted, Electrified, Obelisk, and Shock Lance will deal reduced damage to your minions and companions. So that is actually great news for Necromancers and Druids, making them a bit more powerful going into, some challenging areas of the game. Now, Malignant Hearts have seen an update as well, so check it out. The Caged Heart of Spell Breaking is being updated, and it gives you 10 to 20% damage reduction for 5 seconds upon taking elemental damage, as you can see it right here. And if we keep scrolling, we have general unique items in patch 1.1.1. All stat effects is being updated with max life on temerity. It says general unique items, plus all stats effects replaced with max life. Barriers now based on maximum life, and then now properly accounted by conditions checking for the player having a barrier. So this applies to season malignant changes. Now, monster density changes in patch 1.1.1. Here's an example of a nightmare dungeon today. Take a look at that. If we keep scrolling, here's an updated monster density in 1.1.1. This is going to make a lot of people happy, I am sure. And then it says they won't be increasing density in hell tides that are already dense. But remember, monster density is going to be changing up in both Nightmare Dungeons and Hell Tides. However, again, remember, there's certain areas of Hell Tides that are just absolutely packed to the brim already with monsters. They're not going to touch that. They're pretty much happy with the monster density there. Now, we got to talk about rewards and difficulty changes, so check it out right here. It says they will be increasing the difficulty of World Tier 3-4 bosses, but they will guarantee you a legendary. Treasure Goblins currently have a 50% chance to drop legendaries, but this is changing to 100% in patch 1.1.1. Respecking changes are also happening, says the respec cost will be reduced by 40% in patch 1.1.1. That'll make a lot of people happy. Inventory changes in patch 1.1.1. Elixirs will stack to 99, and an additional stash tap will be implemented in the forthcoming update. For dungeons, it says Leave Dungeon is going back to a 3-second cooldown. This is going to make a lot of people happy. Cold, Enchanted, and Backstabber are being removed from dungeons as well. Good news. Those are very annoying. Now, let's talk about this one right here. Experience changes in patch 1.1. The amount of experience from Whisper, Completion, Hell Cache opening will be increased. And then they had a Q&A segment here. They're making changes to crowd control to make it more fun and perfectly balanced. Will be addressed in patch 1.1.1 as well. Now, the idea is to make resistances impactful, meaningful. When you stack it, you're going to see reduced damage from a certain spell type, but they don't want bosses to deal no damage to you because you stack resistances. Now, mounts will be improved. The boost does not stack properly now due to a bug. This will be fixed soon. It says VRAM issues will also be addressed in patch 1.1.1. Finally, that's going to be happening. We've been hearing them constantly saying, performance adjustments, performance improvements with practically every patch. And people are like, where is it? So apparently, finally, patch 1.1.1 should be significant with solving problems on PC, particularly with the memory leak issues and that sort of thing. Now, furthermore, it says this: overpower naturally happens and you have different vectors to scale. You can never change the baseline value, which is design choice. Zooming in and out may be discussed in future Campfire with the engineering team, and the team's long-term commitment is to bring viability to as many builds as possible. I love it. So yeah, overall, it seems like patch 1.1.1 is going to be a big W. Definitely a step in the right direction. Now, it's going to come down to how they handle the upcoming seasons. Of course, season 1 for a lot of people is somewhat meh, somewhat underwhelming. They have stated the reason for that is because they were simultaneously developing season 1 with the actual core game. That's not going to be the case anymore for season 2 and season 3. It seems like seasons are going to be getting bigger and bigger according to them. We'll see if that actually pans out to be true. But yeah, hopefully this game heads in the right direction. I'm going to stick with it, see what happens in a year and the coming years. But so far, you know, with the problems, I'm still having fun. That's the thing. I am particularly enjoying my time with the Rogue right now. And of course, yes, the Necromancer. But let me know how you guys are enjoying the game. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned here for more news and updates about all things Diablo 4. And I will see you all next time. Take care.